Okay, time for some Q&A. We're going to start off with a couple of questions that I had when I was still on my alternate channel. YouTube is my whore no wiki, where I had to go for a couple of weeks because I was banished from this channel by the YouTube authorities for reasons. So somebody's mowing the lawn close by, but I think we can all work through that, can't we? I think so. So 3 weeks ago, where Eagles Dare asked, he says, I still managed to listen to probably one or two dissident channels. One subject that I think needs to be addressed on at least a monthly basis is the Baj depopulation based on declining birth rate data and increased death rates. Other than anecdotal stories, the only two things I've heard was a 25% decline in births from Taiwan. Yeah, I think it was greater than 25%. I'm wanting to say 29%, but still, anyway, something really significant in Taiwan. And that 40% in death rate from probably 4 or 5 months ago. I hadn't heard about that. I hadn't heard of 40% death rate. I'd heard the death rate is, people are dying for strange reasons, suddenly keeling over, healthy people just falling down and dying. Who knows why? I don't know. I certainly wouldn't, I have an idea, but I certainly wouldn't reveal it here. Hint, hint, use your noodle. Use your noodle. Tell me what I'm not allowed to say here on YouTube. Let me give you one more hint. If you could see what I was pantomiming there. So, where Eagles Dare asks, are there any channels or sources you know of that cover this? Or would you be interested in covering these two trends? I would definitely be interested in covering these trends. And, the more that what I see of these trends, I will definitely weigh in on them. I'm not a number cruncher. I'm not like it's not really my task. I don't see it as my role to be somebody who looks really hard at documents that are put forth by bureaucratic institutions. But anyway, I do think this is definitely worth talking about. Do I know of any other channels or sources? I know Morgoth's Review has talked about this a couple of times, and there is somebody on Substack named Peter Sweden who has covered this issue. Those are two that spring to mind for me. I agree, this is extremely important and good to keep tabs on, because this is something that they don't want us to know, and they certainly don't want us to talk about, and they certainly don't want us to speculate on why this is happening. But so Bruiser Blue says, would you be willing to take up the mantle on a monthly video covering data, news on increased death rates and decreasing birth rates? Well, there you go. Simpatico. Great minds think alike. I don't know. I can't promise on a monthly basis. If somebody were paying me to do this, it's not all about the money, but if I have to go, out of my comfort zone and scrutinize and crunch the numbers that they're spitting out, which is not what I do. It's not my typical thing. You'd have to give me a little Not you, not anybody out there. I'm just saying, if I were a paid reporter, I would gladly do something like that. But as I am not paid to do those things, I think I will just hang back and observe in my own way. Snake 19 asks, have you ever messed around with anonymous image boards? Are you asking if I've been on 4chan or, look, I'm old. You know that I'm old. So, anonymous image boards, what does that mean? You're breaking my brain. You're breaking my Gen X brain with this kind of terminology. But I am on, what's it called, Telegram. So, yeah. Now, to somebody who asked me a question on my email, which I would, since you asked me on my email, I will just consider that you do not want your name or your username to be revealed. Hi, Andy. My question for your Q&A, 2 questions, probably answerable as 1. Given that libertarians have been a fringe force and anti-libertarian forces have reigned across the West since at least the 1910s, and given that libertarians have a lot in common with nationalists, traditionalists, etc., why does much of the alt-right, dissident right devote so much energy to mocking, insulting, and repelling them? I'm with you. I'm vibing with you. We're on the same wavelength there. I don't know. Like I think I remember. I remember in 2015, I think it was, when the anger against libertarians on the dissident right, then called the alt-right, was really at maximum intensity. I wrote a piece entitled "In Defense of Anti-Statism," and it very much went against the grain. It so much went against the grain that Colin Liddell, who then wanted to be in the good graces of the right stuff and their ilk, he wrote a piece saying, "In defense of statism," to counteract the effect of my article. I've always found it to be irritating. I've always found the anger against libertarianism to be tiresome, and misplaced. It's almost like it's just kicking. It's like a bully kicking somebody when he's down. I don't know. I don't think I'm not a straight line libertarian. I'm sympathetic to libertarianism in most ways. Of course, there is a brand of libertarianism that's socially liberal, and I'm not down with that brand of libertarianism. Although it's still better than the statism that we've got that runs rampant right now. Where are all these anti-libertarians, these people mocking libertarianism, but everybody gangsta until the FBI breaks into your home, right? That's suddenly then it's like, no, this is bad. And I remember being at Charlottesville, and how the goon squad, the state goon squad, was brought out, geared up with their helmets and their truncheons and their full body armor, and a lot of the guys who were there saying, we support you, you don't have to do this, we back the blue, so yeah, I'm with you. definitely with you on that one. Okay, here's a question from somebody else who emailed me. Hi, Andy. Here are 3 questions. Number 1, how much do you think people's political opinions would change, if at all, in the absence of the 2 major parties in the United States, dividing them along partisan lines? Well, I do think that there is some, I don't know what the word for it is, but there's some who, there's some aspect of, well, I want to be on this side, and this side believes in this, this, and this, and I'm with this side very strongly on this, but on the other things, I don't really care that much. But I'll become, maybe there's a sense in which, those, like somebody who decides to be a Democrat because he's, I don't know, thinks that the Democrats represent the working man. I don't know how anybody can still think that, but there are people who do. And then because he's decided he's a Democrat for that reason, then he has to be pro-gay marriage, pro-abortion, even though he wouldn't, in the absence of feeling the pressure to conform to what his party wants him to believe, he wouldn't take on those beliefs and opinions. And there being some equivalent to that on the other side. I don't know, you ask how much opinions would change, if at all. I don't know how much they would change, but there probably is something to that for a lot of people. Number 2, which is your favorite, this takes us in a very different direction, which is your favorite film adaptation of a Shakespeare play? Well, I think in spite of its flaws, I'm really ultimately quite partial to Kenneth Branagh's version of Hamlet, just because it was such an audacious undertaking, just to do the whole play. I mean, it's a long play. It's Shakespeare's longest play, and to do it with no cuts at all whatsoever. So you have a movie that's like 4 hours long with an intermission. And so the very idea of it was really good. I was really, I commend him for it. There are some aspects of his interpretation that I wasn't as crazy about, but I think that would be it. I do tend to like, though, when you see Shakespeare, like a Shakespeare play done as a movie in modern times. I think some people don't like that. They complain about it. To me, there's something really about seeing people looking modern, looking like we do today, and there's a certain slovenliness. There's a certain kind of there's an undeniable decline and fall that has taken place, including in the language that we use today. There's but when you see modern-looking people talking in Shakespearean, English, Elizabethan English, sounding so formal and so dignified and so articulate. Like somebody once put it, it was like having jewels in my mouth. That was a wonderful description that I remember somebody saying about doing Shakespeare. Even when he didn't understand the words, that it was like the feeling of having jewels in one's mouth. How often do you get that feeling from what's being written today? I mean, it's not impossible to write something in modern English that is beautiful, but I think there's some way in which seeing Shakespearean language used in a modern setting really has a strangely ennobling effect upon this setting. Now, having said that, my Branna's version of Hamlet is not set in the modern age, although it's still not really historical to Hamlet. Hamlet was supposed to be sometime in the medieval age, and Branna sets it at, like, with a 19th century kind of vibe to it. All right, final question from this person. Do you agree with the phrase opposites attract as far as relationships between people goes? I don't think that, I've never seen that opposites attract. I think that maybe complements attract, which is somewhat similar a statement, but still not exactly the same. In other words, if you're somebody who's really technically minded, but you can't really talk about what you think of a book or a movie, but you'd like to, and then meeting somebody who is able to do that, complements you, just as if you're somebody who's who's more humanitarian or humanities, I should say, humanities minded, who loves literature and arts and stuff, but who can't change a tire, on a car. Then you meet somebody who's very technically minded and spatially minded, and those sort of complementary things might attract. But as far as opposites attracting, I don't think that's true. I don't think, you don't go out, I'm going to find somebody who I disagree with, and, fundamentally, and that person is just going to be irresistible to me because opposites attract. My temperament is to be excitable. Well, this might actually be more an example of what I'm talking about. So maybe somebody with an excitable temperament would complement somebody with a more calm, serene sort of temperament, and vice versa. So if that's what you mean by opposites attract, then yes, but not opposites like people who believe totally different things. I don't think those attract. No, I've never seen any evidence of that. All right, this ends part 1 of my Q&A. Thanks for watching.